I am Phyllis. You want all of my names?
Yeah.
I was born Phyllis Wedgbury in Iowa Falls, Iowa in 1957. I am the youngest of 5 children. You know, my mom and dad were farmers, some. My dad was also a school teacher, which I did for 38 years. But in between all of that, I became a horseback rider because I fell in love with them when I was 11 years old. My dad didn't buy me a saddle. He bought me a bridle and a horse and said, go ride. And I did. We lived in a small town and I just rode all over town. Some of my friends rode with me, you know, had pictures in the paper because I would just watch anybody who happened to be doing anything in town and stop with my horse. Okay, fast forward, raised 3 children, you know, moved to Mississippi. And after I did, I went to look at my husband at the time, and I went to go look at some horse trailers at the Tunica Arena. Well, they had horse trailers for sale there, and that's how we ended up over there. Well, at the arena at that time was a event called Cowboy Mounted Shooting. And we went in there and I watched because, you know, the beautiful horses, I can't, you know, and they were all running and shooting and it was just great. And I looked at that and I thought, that is the coolest thing I have ever seen. So, the next few months I spent training my horse, buying guns, which are 45 caliber single action revolvers. You have to have 2. It is a timed event, kind of like a barrel race. People of all walks of life and ages, you know, participate in this. There's also rifle shooting, which I tried and I couldn't do. But my horse was already a gaming horse because I rode her in barrels and such things, a quarter horse. And it took me 2 weeks to be able to get up on her back and shoot off of her back. Horses wear earplugs, you know, they have a big foam thing that you just kind of squish and stick in their ears so the sound doesn't hurt them. Lots of horses are scared of the balloons. Lots of horses are scared of the gunpowder because it's black powder. And black powder has a distinct smell. And so many horses are afraid of that. Mine was absolutely wonderful. She was already a running horse. She was fast. And if I ever could learn to shoot as fast as she ran, I would have been in really high cotton. So I didn't do it for a very long time because, you know, life gets in the way of doing things that you really like. One of the things that they require is you have to have period dress, which means that women have to wear dresses. And I made my own dress, you know, a great big skirt that had like 15 yards of material in it, and you know, the pantaloons, of course, that go under it, which is a good thing because I came off my horse one time and I just went head over heels and, you know, ended up on the ground. So it's a good thing I had all that undercover. There are 50 different patterns. When you go to a shoot, you know, you pay your entry fee, and then at the beginning they have all 50 patterns in a hat, and they draw out 5 of them. Okay, there's 10 balloons in each pattern. The first 5 go through a random pattern, whatever they pull out of the hat, and the last 5 are called the rundown, and the rundown is a straight shot. You have to change guns halfway in between, you know, between the first 5 and the second 5. You have exactly 10 rounds. Everybody gets the same ammo at the beginning of the shoot. You go, you load your gun, they give you the 10 shells, you load both of your guns, get ready, and then you go shoot. It is black powder with walnut media, which, you know, it will blow a pop can in half, like 4 feet away. So you got to be careful not to shoot yourself or your horse. I did know a guy that shot his horse one time, and he was a firefighter. He set his horse on fire and himself. We called him Smokey. That's another story. It is just great fun. A friend of mine said it's like barrel racing on steroids, which is exactly right, because running a horse and shooting a gun is way too much fun. The random patterns, my horse, you know, you have your gun in one hand, you pull it as soon as I walked in the arena with my horse and I pulled that gun out, she was just dancing because she knew that's what she got to do and she loved to do it. And so we go through the first, I'd holster my gun. I had a holster on my saddle horn. I wore both guns on my sides when I started. So I pulled one and had it ready when I came out, holstered it halfway through, then I pulled the other one from the other side and shot the other 5. But the rundown is really, really fast paced. And so you have to be ready, you have to have your gun in your hand, and if your horse has any speed at all, you better be ready to go, because lots of times I was shooting like this. Because she ran faster than I could get the balloon shot. If you miss a balloon, it's kind of like in a barrel race. It's a 5-second penalty. It's a timed event, so the quicker you do it, the better off you are.
Okay.
So if you miss one, it adds 5 seconds. And I have to say that probably, 30 to 45 seconds is probably a long run. You probably don't want to go that slow, because, the quicker, obviously. And there are some of those guys, when I watched that first time, those guys, their horses were just laying sideways. Barrel racing has nothing on this, because the horses would be just laid plumb sideways going around wherever they pointed them, and the guy is shooting wherever the balloons happen to be. It is just fabulous. If you ever get a chance to go watch it, you need to go watch it, because it is invigorating. It's great. Very well-trained horses, very good cowboys that can sit a horse. My horse came out from under me one time in the middle of, if you dismount during the pattern, you get a 60-second time, which means you're probably done in the competition, okay? I did one time because I changed my gun, and something happened and she turned, and when she turned, she bounced, and she bounced up, and I ended up standing on the ground right beside her, the reins in one hand and my gun in the other, just standing beside my horse, and I had no idea how I got there. I didn't fall on the ground, but of course it messed me up. I saw a man one time, his horse was not being very cooperative, and he was running through the pattern, and the horse, they're on like the rubber things that they use for the cones, like around the roads. They have that cone, they have a plastic pipe in there, just like a PVC pipe, and then the balloon is on a stick, and it sticks in the top of the PVC pipe. And so they change them, obviously, for everyone that runs. Well, this guy's horse hit the cone and knocked it over. When it did, the balloon flew up in the air. His horse reared up, and he shot the balloon in the air. It was so good. You just never know what may happen. It's a really great sport, and I just love it. I don't do it anymore. I lost my horse about 3 years ago to old age. Because this was like in 2004. In 2004, I did it for 2 or 3 years. I was the Eastern United States champion in Tunica in my level, which was level 2. There's 5 levels, but I only made it to 2. And I was the High Point, Mississippi woman. I'm pretty proud of that. I have belt buckles and spurs to show it, not to mention the memories that are just great. And I had several friends that went with me to do it too, and so we always had a big time. Take your horse trailers and your horses, and you go for the weekend, and then fuel gets really expensive and you can't go anymore, so we didn't go anymore.
How old were you when you started? You said you'd already had 3 children by then?
Oh yeah, I was in my 40s.
Okay.
Yeah, I was over 40 before I ever started. Of course, I've always been a horseback rider. And like I said, my horse was already trained. She had, the one finger guiding. She was real easy. She was a running horse. She knew how to run. She knew how to turn, because we'd done the barrel racing and the poles and all that kind of stuff before that. And so what I had to do is get her accustomed to the shooting, which didn't take long, because she was just a good horse. Some of them, I tried one of my mules to do that, and it scared that poor girl half to death, and we just quit because she couldn't stand the gunfire. Some of them can't stand the gunfire. Some of them can't stand the balloons. So it's just a learning process for the horse as well as the people. So I was old by the time I started that. Would I do it again? Absolutely. 45 caliber pistols. You know, I still have one of them. I got rid of one, but I still have one. And it just, it's a great sport. You know, more people, and they have the older division too. So if I ever had a horse, I don't know, I have a young horse that I'm riding right now. She's just 3.5, and I had somebody ride her for me for 60 days. But we're going out on the trails now, and she's doing all this kind of stuff, and she's not afraid of much of anything, because I've had her since she hit the ground. So we'll see. You never know what may come of this in the future. You know, and now we trail ride. We have a horse trailer with living quarters in it, and anybody says, you know, oh, you sleep in your horse trailer. Yeah, you know, my horse trailer is better than most campers. Haul the horses in the back and unload them wherever we're going, and matter of fact, we're going this weekend. Again.
Where will you go this weekend?
Houston, Mississippi, to Stinkin' Jim's Horse Camp. It's a great place to ride. We have a lot of friends down there. You know, we trail ride, and I'm not taking horses this weekend, but I usually do. My husband and I both had surgery, so we have to kind of lay off for a little bit before we start back to riding again.
So this weekend you'll just go and hang out with your friends?
Exactly right. You know, there's a dance on Saturday night, and they have food on Saturday night as well, and so everybody will bring their horses, and they'll all be riding, and we sit around the campfire and, you know, tell stories and, you know, make up stuff as we go. It's a great bunch.